Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Nevada Democratic Veterans and Joint Veterans Endorsement Interview, where I'm your host. I am Pastor Philip Washington, Chaplain Washington. I'm your moderator, and I will enter. And we want to thank our sponsors, the Brown Law Office, Stephanie Phillips, the U.S. Senate candidate, Ava Bravo, Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department 2 candidate, and Christian Bishops, Nevada State Senate District 5 candidate. We're going to explain the process to Mr. Frank Frentz. He's running for the Clark County School District C. The panel members will introduce themselves by giving their name, position, and organization they represent. Then each candidate will be given 30 seconds to introduce themselves. Please include why you're running and why you're seeking our endorsement. Candidates, please remember this is an interview, not a debate. So when asked a question from a panel member, you will please direct your answers toward the panel member only. When panel member asks you a question, you have 45 seconds to answer. With 15 seconds left, you will see the yellow card. And when your time is up, you will get the red card. And in the end, candidates will be given 1 minute for a closing statement. We will now turn you into the hands of our director, Mr. James Jonas.
Okay. Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans and Politics. Thanks for coming, Frank.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber PAC.
Mikey Kelly, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus. Welcome on to that side.
Matthew DeFalco, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus.
Ryan Saunders, Nevada Democratic Veterans.
Martin Walker, Veterans and Politics.
I'm Frank Friends. I'm running for trustee of District C, and basically, I've kind of had enough of it. Is what it is. I'm a concerned father, a parent. Both of my kids are going to be going to there. My daughter already goes to CCSD, and it's been nothing but a decline since, I believe, 2014. So it's time for that to change. So that's why I'm running, and I'm going to implement the changes I see that will be necessary to fix the system.
All right. So my question to you, Frank, and I apologize for having this such a loaded question, but not too long ago we had someone elected to the school board, and they came on the school board saying they're going to show everybody how it's done, and they actually became super divisive, and not any of their things they wanted to get done has been accomplished. So being the straightforward individual that I know you are, how are you going to be able to balance your direct approach, but still be able to get things through an entire board of 7?
Well, you can still be straightforward and still be a problem solver. You know what I mean? We don't need to just look at the board members. We need to look at other solutions, maybe from other counties, maybe even from other countries. How are you solving this problem? What we can do to implement that same type of system that's already solving the problem somewhere. Somebody's got this figured out. We just don't. So that's the problem. And I'm going to explain it to them with stats, facts, and we're just going to be straightforward about it. Hopefully they get on board. If not, I'm going to be transparent. This board member doesn't like that. This is what the results are where it's implemented. This is why I want to implement it. So I won't be hiding nothing, but I won't try to be divisive either.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. Hear me back there? Okay, cool. My question for you, Frank, in the beginning of your opening, you mentioned solutions. One of the challenges that the school district's been facing, teachers. For years, we've been talking about teacher shortages. Mm-hmm. What is your solution to help bring more teachers to CCSD?
Let's start with safety. We rank 50th in safety. Teachers don't feel safe, they're not going to come here. I mean, would you come here if your friend told you you're getting assaulted, you're going to get your face caved in by a student who's 260 pounds and it's his 5th time being RPC'd? You're not coming to that district. So we need to start with safety. Then we need to get teachers better training. Once they get better training, better pay, because the results will be there. The stats will always show that the results are there. So, and you got to kind of give them that little bit of, stick on a carrot kind of thing. Hey, we're safer and we're going to pay more. So come over to here. Look at us. We're the new school moving forward and changing from 47th to 30th and then continuing on upward.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. So my question is, what's one of the things you want to get done or see done if you are seated in the first 100 days?
I want to get rid of two things quickly. There's not going to be any more of this gender confusion amongst our youth. You're not going to be fining the schools $5,000 a day because they won't let a boy use a restroom or a locker room with a girl. These kids need counseling, they need help, and that's what we need to provide. And if counselors can't provide it, we need to find a different counselor. Second thing I want to change immediately, we need to harden our schools. They're soft targets, and we know what happens. 95% of all shootings, gun-free zones, and they're easy targets. And we have no way to stop it right now with this current anti-gun, anti-armed personnel thing that everybody has going on with it when we know what the solution is. We've seen it implemented in other places. It works.
Mikey Kelly, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus. Your district has one of the highest rates of free and reduced lunches in the county. While I appreciate about safety, though your kids are not concerned, that's not a concern. If the kid can't eat, the kids don't have food at home. If the kids are being abused in their homes, if the kids are living in poverty, you also have a high rate of homelessness. Those are the issues that really have to be discussed or haven't been discussed currently. My question is, what are you going to do to address the issue of homelessness, the issue of basically abuse in the home, and the fact these kids aren't getting the food and the sustenance they need?
Well, with the food thing, I mean, we give prisoners food. So why aren't we giving our children food? Not only that, let's look at the dietary things we're doing with the kids. If we give them higher protein diets, more on the keto style, one, we lower the risk of diabetes amongst our youth. Second of all, protein keeps you fuller longer. So if we're sending them home on a full meal, maybe they do not eat that night, but they're definitely going to be full off of what we gave them. As for the counseling and the homelessness, there's a group called CORE that works with the schools. They give parents all kinds of assets, all kinds of, hey, let us help you get business. Let us help you find a job. We can use CORE to start reaching out to parents, but the parents got to get involved too. They have to be accountable to that. So those are a couple of things we can do to start solving that right away. And counselors need to recognize when they see signs of abuse. You are first reporters. So help that student and get that reported.
What I'm saying is what happens when the kid, it's a little complex. What do you do when the kid's reporting it? The kid goes home, goes and reports it, goes back home and gets their behind kicked, which happens. And that's a problem we're seeing a lot of.
Well, if we're actually reporting the abuse and then the kid's going home to the abuser, to me, that's no longer the school's issue. That's a policing issue. If the abuse was reported to you and you know it's happening, now the police need to step in and start doing something. Maybe that parent needs counseling. Maybe that child needs to be replaced in a different home, a different situation. Change the environment. You will change the outcome.
Can you tell us about your background and experience in education and/or school administration?
With education, I've been educating people on one of the most prolific topics in the world, home safety and weapons training for years. I educate children, I educate adults, I teach. I used to train and teach armed guards how to follow the force continuum so that, they understand that they're not allowed to escalate the force. I've trained and taught people that. Right now I'm training and teaching people home improvement and maintenance so that they can take care of their homes, since that's the dream. But as for school education, absolutely zero. But like I said before, if you look at the last decade or so, we've had educators in these positions, and we've done nothing but decline anyways.
We're smooth sailing. You mind if I do a follow-up? Can you expand on that? It sounds like that's really important. You're talking a lot about hardening our schools. What do you mean by that?
Single point of entry, at least one mandatory officer on campus at all times in uniform. And I want the same officer at the school so he can build rapport with those children that are going there. If you look at Bolden Area Command, they do a wonderful program called community-oriented policing, and they keep the officers going to the coast in the jets and things like that. So if we can keep those officers building that bond with these children as they grow through that system, not only will you have officers to tell the next school, hey, I got a kid coming, he's a great kid, dad's a little abusive, we're working on that, look out for him. You can build that. And then you have one plainclothes officer walking around. Because if you look at FBI statistics, about 40% of all mass shooters end within 3 minutes if there's an armed civilian or personnel response there. You know how long it takes police to get there when a mass shooting occurs? 4 to 12. So an armed civilian or an armed citizen or an armed personnel could have ended it in under 3 minutes, while it takes 4 minutes for the police just to respond. That's not neutralizing it. That's just getting the call and getting there.
What about teachers?
If the teachers want to take a comprehensive CCW, an active workplace shooter program, which does get offered and Homeland Security provides it, absolutely. Why shouldn't a teacher be able to maybe carry a non-lethal, maybe carry a taser, maybe carry something, or see the signs of something that's coming? You know what I mean? And if they take the further classes and they vote on it and they feel comfortable with it, I'm okay with the teacher passing a background check, a mental MMPI check, and taking classes to carry. Because they have the Second Amendment to carry, and we're taking it away from them. That means that school is responsible for that teacher's safety. We rank 50th in safety. Teachers being assaulted, sexually assaulted, teachers getting their faces caved in. We got to do something about it, and what we're doing now isn't working. And we see where schools have guns, they don't have shootings.
Thank you. Can you just provide some examples for your experience working with budgets, policymaking, or any type of strategic planning?
When I worked for security companies, I would basically be the person to train the officers, go over policy, force continuum, what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. I sat in depositions with attorneys all the time. I've actually made attorneys quit when they face me. So, I mean, we can go at it if we want to, but if we know the law, we know the stats and facts, we can get things done. As for budget, I was a single father for multiple years with $16 of help from the federal government for food stamps while raising a daughter myself. That's all they gave me. I budgeted it, I handled business, she's thriving. So, I mean, and I'm a small business owner that's starting my own stuff and budgeting those things.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being with us. So I'm looking at an article that's 2 years old, but nothing has really changed since then. Nevada ranks 49th in educational attainment, 42nd in school quality, 46th in best school systems, 47th in numeracy rate, and literacy rate 49th. What do you propose some changes could be done to help raise the academic achievement level of our students?
Environment, environment, environment. Get misbehaved children to specialized schools that can deal with that. Minimize the class size so that those misbehaved children aren't there. They're going to a different school with those counselors that understand their needs. Then we can focus on the children in there who are not being distracted. We could take gifted children and test them out of classes that they don't need because they already know the subject. That minimizes the class size as well. It also gives the students something to achieve, something to look forward to, something to tell the parents, get involved. Your kid's gifted. So you can do those things to bring all that up. And honestly, one of the big things for me is start early. Start in kindergarten with all this. Find the gifted kids. Find the misbehaved kids. We know who they are. Teachers will tell you. That's why they'll tell you, that kid's bad. Why is he still here? Just like that teacher that got assaulted. That was that kid's 5th time doing something. It should have only happened once or twice.
So in that same vein, so we have schools like Peterson Behavioral School, where students who have misbehaved and possibly looking at expulsion in the regular school get sent over to these schools like Peterson, and sent there for maybe 6 weeks, whatever, till they're ready to be reintegrated back into the regular school. But the funding doesn't follow those students. And if you've ever been to Peterson, I've been there several times. It looks like a prison. And there's no teachers there. It was 3 really hardworking teachers. It's very understaffed, very underfunded. So in that same vein of finding alternatives for those students, not the gifted ones, but the ones who seem to be labeled with some type of misbehavior for whatever reason. Again, can you expound on your thoughts there?
Open up more behavioral schools. I went to Jefferson, but I went for the dumbest reason possible. My sister got jumped by a bunch of people. The next week they tried to jump me. I defended myself. That dude who was much bigger than me ended up in the hospital. They kicked me out of Clark County schools for like a year. I had to go down to Tennessee, then come back, then go to Jefferson. I defended myself. That's all I did. But if these students have these behavioral problems, send them to a school with teachers and counselors who can recognize it. Maybe it's a home issue. Maybe it's an environmental issue. Maybe it's an actual educational issue and they have something wrong in their head and they need help. You can't have all these teachers dealing with 26, 30 students with 2 or 3 of them constantly causing problems. Send them to a special school, and don't do it for 4 weeks. Do it for an entire quarter. Let that student work those things out. Let those counselors find out what the problems are. Because if you take a student, put them over here for 4 weeks, and then put them over here for 4 weeks, and put them over here for 4 weeks, what's that student learning? Who's he bonding with? What's going on? Who's diagnosing it? Who's seeing what's actually occurring in that student's life? Nobody, because it's 4 weeks and he'll be gone. 4 weeks, I'll get a new one.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. A few years ago, the Armed Forces Chamber had launched a after-school mentoring program for boys at Wing and Lily Fong Elementary School, Title I school. The first year we started with 7 boys. The second year we had almost 100 kids, including girls. Some of the mentors are here that participated. We all volunteered our time, and we went and got sponsors to provide food and snacks and things for the children. But during those 3 years we did the program, the school gave no financial support. Some of the teachers would come shadow, but the school gave no support, no input. There's other groups that have done similar programs at different schools throughout CCSD. Would that be the kind of thing you would support, and if so, how?
Oh, absolutely. Not only support, but promote and run with it. Because if you got any opportunities for these children to have mentors who are going to be a positive influence on them, you're always going to see positive results. You know what I mean? You take a kid out of a bad environment, it ain't even got to be the greatest coach. It doesn't have to be the greatest teacher. It can just be somebody that cared just a little more than somebody else did. Now that kid's grades go from D's to C's. Is he a straight A student? No, but he's improved. His behavior's in check. He has a little more self-confidence. The more you build self-confidence, the more you change environment, the greater and higher these kids will shoot up that ladder. Might take some time, but the schools need to promote it. It needs to be maybe an after-school program or something that the parents are aware of. Parents aren't even aware of CORE that I told you about, which could help them get business opportunities and jobs. The schools have some programs, but we're not televising them enough.
Can I? Oh, sorry. A quick follow-up. Or, I mean, as a trustee, you will be making policy. Many of the changes you want are not policy; they require law changes, which means you're going to have to bring these before the Nevada legislature. Some of the people in the legislature are teachers. There are teachers in the legislature. Are you going to seek input from them, because they're the ones who are living that every day? So are you willing to seek input from them and try to develop law that actually works, that can actually affect the changes you desire?
Absolutely, that's the only way to solve the problem. If we're not working together, we're basically Chinese finger trap. Let's pull it apart and see what happens. Well, we're going to get stuck in the middle, and we're not going to get the outcomes we want. So I'll be working with teachers. I'll be working with parents. I'll be working with anybody that makes it for Senate. Yeah, we need laws changed. And again, we don't just need to look here. We can look in other states. We can look in other countries. We can find where laws that have been implemented in a specific way gave a specific result. If we like the result, we communicate about it, we make it happen. That's the only way to change it, is find it. And that's going to be looking everywhere. Teachers, students, parents. Somebody might have an idea that none of us came up with.
And just to follow up, I just want to ask one more thing, and I brought this up to you privately. Nevada has some of the lowest property tax rates in the country, and that's what funds public education, property taxes. One of the most conservative states in the union, Texas, has the 7th highest, and that is why their schools, in many ways, are much more effective than ours. Well, I'm not saying we should raise our property taxes to the level of Texas. There is something to be said about the increasing revenue. The district doesn't generate, we don't have revenue. What will you do, including property tax? We have to increase revenue. The revenue of we've got to increase revenue. What are you going to do to work to develop a policy, hopefully it becomes law, where we can actually increase revenue and improve funding? Because like we've said, we're 50th in funding, not in academic achievement. We're not that far back from academic achievement, but we are definitely 50th in funding.
Well, to me, that's a 3-pronged problem. You're going to have to look at it like, what can we pass, what can we do? Something big I would like to do is have traffic units, cop speak, have them at every school while the schools are open. Because what are you seeing? You're seeing accidents, you're seeing all these kinds of things. Let's get it to where these people are getting ticketed, our kids are being safe, and a percentage of those tickets go to fund those schools. So, if you're writing a traffic ticket in a school zone because somebody U-turned and hit somebody, well, okay, now the school is going to get a percentage of that. It'll calm the people down. It'll make it safer for the kids. And people will be a little more cautious that there's cops in this area. Maybe you shouldn't be doing things you shouldn't be doing. As for property tax, if we make the cost of living here a little better, then why couldn't we ask the voters, hey, look, you're getting a 4 or 5 bedroom house. We're making entire areas that are just for multifamilies. We're making entire areas that are for big families. We're doing something like that. The voters could be like, yeah, I'll pay a little more because I'm paying a lot less now, and my kids are going to grow up in this house for 10, 15 years. They're going to go to the school that it's zoned for because we don't have too many zone variances. So they're going to go there, and it'll boost their school up too. Also, the weed. If we're going to legalize this weed, where's this money going? And we need it now. We don't need it for them to figure out what happened to it or where it went. We need the money right now.
One more question. Mm-hmm. What's the best thing the incumbent has done, and what's the worst thing the incumbent has done?
They definitely have kept the seat warm. So I'll give them that. And they don't allow people to speak at public comment. They are constantly disrupting things. They think they're some kind of dictator. So I would say that would be the worst.
Okay, Frank, what would you be willing to do as far as exposing the rule of the school board so the superintendent and the president of the school board, they set the agenda. School board trustees don't get it until 2 days prior to that meeting. What would you be willing to do to highlight this issue? Because I've asked this in several other races, and every time somebody says, oh, absolutely, I'll address it, and they haven't, and it's still a problem.
Real simple. I'll bring it up in public comment. I'll tell people, hey, I don't even know what this bill is. It's 500 pages, and they gave me 2 days to read the damn thing. I don't know what's going on. Can't vote on it. Or I'll say, hey, if this person is telling us what the agenda is and we're getting no say-so in it, these people elected me. My people want some say-so. So make it happen. It's not hard to change a policy to be like, hey, what do you think your constituents want? Well, I polled them, and this is what they said, so this is kind of what they want. Let's figure out a system that'll implement it. And if you give people 2 days to prepare for something, they're not going to have all the stats and facts and the different solutions that could have came with it. You know what I mean? Because, how often are they going to be able to look at a different school or a different place within 2 days? Most of us probably have jobs, so we're going to have families. You got to give them more time, adequate time to represent the people and hear the voices.
Hey, Mike, did you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Oh, sorry. No. How many days? What did I do?
2 days.
2 days.
Here's the agenda.
This
Here's
is
some
what I was
stuff.
told by
2
the
days.
past Trustee. Now, if they're wrong, I apologize. But yeah, it's just the superintendent and the chairman.
Well, the law says, the Nevada law says it's 3 days prior to the meeting. So
Even
that's
at 3
ridiculous.
days.
I don't think that's.
Look up every school district throughout the United States and see which ones are successful, what rules are implementing in 3 days. I'm good at research. I ain't that good.
Chamber fact, and here's what's interesting. If you look at the mayor, city council meetings, or even the commission meetings in Nye County, they generally publish and post their meeting agenda and what they're going to go over anywhere from 7 to 14 days in advance, and some of them have a meeting twice a month. If it's good enough for the mayor, city council, commissioners to do, it's good enough for the school board and trustees to also at least get 7 days notice.
Well, not just that, but if you look at public comment, like I said, I'm sorry, teachers have been in this position. They've been in all these positions. In 10 years, you've done nothing but decline us. Maybe the solution isn't a teacher's idea. Maybe it's a parent's idea. Maybe it's a councilwoman who quit years ago and said, oh, look what I found. How's she going to know if we don't even know the agenda? We need to have the agenda. It needs to be printed. It needs to be transparent and online. And you need about 7 to 14 days to tell people, hey, come on down and give me ideas. Because that's all we're looking for. Everybody says they want a solution, but we're not looking for them. We're just be like, nope, teachers this, or this union that, or this person this, and that's it. The solution isn't here. We haven't solved it in 10 years. So let's find it.
Last question. Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. I graduated from CCSD in '96.
Me too.
I joined it in '93 as a student. Well, from '93 until now, and that's been over 30 years, I've always heard it publicized that there's a teacher shortage here. But when I go talk to the teachers and the subs, and one of my daughters, she's a substitute teacher, what they've been telling me is the school district is intentionally not hiring teachers because of the amount of pay they have to give them plus the benefits. They're intentionally allowing a teacher shortage to be created and then hire subs who are paid a lot less than teachers. Are you familiar with that, and what's your take on that?
That's kind of what I've seen too. I've never really seen a teacher shortage. I've seen behavioral issues. I've seen classroom size issues. You know, you got a teacher watching 30 kids, which is kind of ridiculous. But I mean, as for the teacher shortage, I know a few subs and they do get paid a little lower. But to me, that's just like everything else in our political system. Oh, we know the problem and we're going to keep it a problem so we can run on it. Oh, look at us. We want to solve this issue. You mean the issue you've had for 30 years? That issue? That issue that could have been solved in 2, maybe 3? That's all they do. They tell you the issue and then they run on it and then they stop it from being solved. A lot of politics do this, and it's no different.
Okay, so panel members, I've let this go a little bit longer just because we only have one candidate. Well, no, another reason also, too, is because education is so important, and it's been a long time since we've had an intellectual full-on conversation. And since I know you don't have a problem conversating any more than I do, okay? So panel members, do you guys have any more questions for Mr. Friends?
Sure. All right. So again, thank you for the intellectual conversation, as he just mentioned. So earlier you mentioned that you wanted to get rid of gender confusion. When I don't want to misquote you. In 5.1 in CCSD policy 5138. 5138. 5138. 5318. I knew you would know.
Section 2.
So there's a portion that talks about keeping information away from parents. Can you expound on what your thoughts are? Because a lot of parents are concerned about their lack of control over what's going on with their child in the classroom and what they're being, using other people's words for the sake of the conversation, indoctrinated on. It is contrary to a parent's belief, or at least what message that sends to the kids that it's okay to keep information away from their parents. What are your thoughts on that?
A couple of things. One, this whole transgender ideology that's going on, people really need to look into it. You also have BID, body identity dysphoria. It's where people think that they're amputees and they want to cut off a limb, a perfectly healthy limb. But it's who they believe they are. It's who they see themselves as. We don't feed into that. We don't feed into anorexia. We don't feed into bulimia. We don't tell a paranoid schizophrenic, you're right, Bob, the radio's talking to you, you should kill people. We don't do any of that. This is the only one where we're like, you know what? I think you're right. Maybe you are. When absolutely you're not. You have a 44% suicide rate if they do this. And any adult that tells a child, keep a secret from your parent, but come tell me, is only doing it for one reason. And we all know what it is. You're trying to keep that secret because it leads to other things. It's why you will see high sexual assault rates amongst gender-confused youth, amongst ones who transition, because they went and told somebody, and that somebody said, keep it a secret. There will be no secrets from parents, period. If your child is suffering an issue, the counselor needs to report it. They are first reporters. If you're not reporting it, that there's a gender identity disorder going on, you're not doing your job as a counselor. And that needs to be stated.
Can I ask you something in that regard? Because I think I understand what you're saying, but let me give you an intro. Giovanni Melton, do you know about him?
No, sir.
Giovanni Melton was a young child that told his parents he was gay, told his father he was gay. His father killed him. What do you do? That's the reason why teachers oftentimes, it's not to keep a secret because they're being molested. I think some of it is, unfortunately, parents will hurt their children, and parents do cause harm because the problems of discipline begin at the home. A teacher only has the kid for about 6 hours a day. The parent has them the other 18. So the problem, I wonder, is, and again, I look at things you're comparing transgender to schizophrenia, and there's a totally, that's not, I don't think, an accurate comparison.
It absolutely
But
is. They have the same suicide rate. They're the
it
only
is
two
not
mental
the
disorders.
same. It is complete. There is not. Being transgender is not a mental disorder. There is. That's. What I'm
According
trying
to the
say,
DSM-5 and 6, it's a mental disorder.
it's not a mental disorder, and that's like saying
Yes, it
that's
is.
like saying homosexuality is a mental disorder. I mean, that is. What I'm saying is, in your district has other issues than that. They have kids that are struggling again with abuse, with poverty, with all these things. While I appreciate your interest in this, your job is to maintain a school district, not worry about, and those problems in those schools are because of poverty, because of abuse at the home. Quite frankly, it's again, free and reduced, a very high free and reduced lunch rate for those kids in that district. What are you going to do to solve those? Those are the issues that are pressing. I appreciate everything else, but those issues are really pressing. How do we fix that?
We don't allow secrets when reports are being reported. It's plain and simple. If a child says they're being abused, if a counselor even thinks they're being abused, and that counselor does not report it, that's that counselor's job. If they do report it and then Metro doesn't go handle their business, that's on Metro. That's no longer on the school district. We reported it to you. We told you we expect abuse in this home, and there's plenty of signs. So if it's more of a three-pronged problem. It's the child being comfortable to report the abuse. It's the counselor doing their job to actually report the abuse, and Metro and CPS working together to go solve the abuse. Why is the abuse occurring? Is it only occurring at home? What's going on? Are there drugs involved? And again, if we change the environment, we will change the outcome for the child every time.
Hey, Andre, if you're going to ask one last question, and then this will be the last question. Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Go ahead. If you got a question. So if you have a question, and then Andre has a question.
My question is that I hear what you're saying, I hear your passion, I hear your information. But any individual that gets on that board, there's already rules that's already in place. How would your passion promote 6 other people or 7 other people on that board to come along when you have rules? Because I work as a chaplain, I work with RECAP. On RECAP, and there was shootings going on in school. There was another issue with the Clark County School District and police. You have that municipality police department, then you have the Metro Police Department, and you're talking about hardlining the schools, but the issue is that that's not going
Pastor,
to
turn your
apply.
mic on, sorry.
That will be challenging simply because what we found going in, there's a lot of stipulations and policies that's set in Clark County School District that, as admirable as what you are passionate, those passions will put there's going to be roadblocks, because a lot of the reality from what he just read pose of the laws that are set there are not set there to comply to not having all the information. And one of the things I found out working with the school district police department, they're very limited in their resources. And so you spoke in the earlier part, talking about maybe being a little bit more harder in the school, well, that was an idea that doesn't fly. So we tried to do things in the school district with daddies going into the schools to kind of show a sense of support to protect those children. And there were other areas, but it's a complicated beast, and I understand your passions. I mean, I'm a father of 9 children, 6 boys, 3 girls, and most of my kids went through the Clark County School District. And so, and if my kids were younger now, I think I would be a little stronger proponent when it comes to, as Mikey had said, with transgender and homosexual. It's a law now. So you can't go in and challenge it from the perspective. I don't think that you can challenge it, because I have challenged it. There's too many pieces and places that protects them. And as he said before, with the young children, I pastor a church, and I went into a court case with a parent that literally, I mean, just to see the abuse that was taking place from parent, I couldn't even stomach it. So my point of what I'm asking you is that with your passion, with your design, if you were to get voted as a board member, how would you, I mean, the conversation was stimulated, but I'm sure the other board members have also heard those conversations. And you initially said when you first came up, they don't give the people in the room opportunity to speak and say things when you go and have a few words. And there's a reason why I believe that that's there. I've been in those meetings, and I see how heated they can become. So I guess I'm asking you, how do you take all of your energy and comply to policy when and you just publicly said, well, you don't have no education other than the school district serving and security. So how is that going to stand up to dealing with people dealing in schools with education? How would you tackle that?
You can never argue from a place of authority. Just because somebody has a degree doesn't mean they're any smarter than me. Maybe on a particular subject, absolutely. But I got knowledge on all these subjects. And those things that are stopping us from success, you literally said it. They're roadblocks stopping us from success. You're stopping Clark County School District from having police officers there. Your policy's doing it. We've seen it. That's what the rule is. We need to change the rule. I need to work with the school board. I need to work with Senate. I need to work with councilmen. Everybody's got to get on board. But when you show people data, statistics, facts, and then outcomes of success, it usually changes their perspective. If I can tell you, plain and simple, like we were talking about the transgender thing, if you leave them alone with no hormones, by the time they turn 18, 65 to 95% of them stop having the disorder and they just become gay adults. Simple. If you put them on the hormone blockers, you increase their suicide rate to 40%. Sometimes not doing something will help. But with these roadblocks, we got to work together. We got to get rid of all these roadblocks. They're stopping success. We know armed response is the fastest success to stop a tragedy from occurring. It's usually done in 3 seconds to 3 minutes if there's an armed personnel there. Police response time is 3 to 12 minutes. That's time to respond, not time to neutralize. That's time to just get there. It takes them 3 to 12 minutes. So while there's roadblocks, while there's policies, and we teach the parents and we show the voters, hey, guess what? Would you want your child 3 seconds to 3 minutes to be saved? Or you want your child 3 minutes to 12 minutes to just see somebody that might save them?
All right, thanks, Frank. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Andre. He's going to ask the last question. And one of the reasons why I want to, it's a great conversation, but I'll talk to you in private of why it's not fair to other candidates that we're letting you go so long. But here's Andre.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. My question is similar to what the point Mikey Kelly was making when he was talking about food insecurity. And here's my question. A lot of the free and reduced lunches that Mikey mentioned, and even the food for sale, at the end of the day, all of it is not sold or given away or consumed by the students. So that particular food, would you be open or would you support the school taking that food that has a shelf life that has not been consumed and then giving that to the students who maybe don't have enough food at home, who are not going to have dinner, to help handle the food insecurity or the hunger problem that Mikey Kelly had mentioned?
The fact that that's already not a thing should tell you that we're failing. So they're already giving the kids. Oh, absolutely. Then that needs to stay. That not only needs to stay, but students that need it need to understand that there's a program that helps. Parents need to know, hey, maybe talk to your counselor, see if they can send a little extra food from the food table. Because my daughter's school has a food table. If you don't want your apple, put it on the table, kid can come grab it, he can eat it. So if they already have that going that actually goes home with the kids, that needs to be implemented everywhere, and the parents need to know about it. Like I said, they don't know about CORE. They don't know about other opportunities. We need to send flyers home. We need to email these parents, hey, if you're struggling, tell your kid to come to the table. Tell them to come during a break period. Tell them to just grab their backpack and grab 3-4 more apples, something. Because if they're throwing the food away, we're wasting resources on children who need them. And if they need them, they need to have access to them at all times. Parents, maybe pick your kid up from school after school and pick up a backpack full of food. That would help. But they need to know that that program exists. Like I said, I knew the Leave It on the Table exists for kids, but nobody at school told me Take It Home was a program too.
So Frank, go ahead. I'm going to give you, since we've had a long discussion, I'm going to give you 1 minute for a closing statement so that you can point of contact, how people can get involved. You know the drill. Okay, you got 1 minute, Frank, and then we're going to wrap this up.
My name is Frank Friends. I'm running for trustee of District C. Vote frankfriends.com or reach me on Facebook, Frank Friends. I'm not going to duck your messages or your questions, whether you're in my district or not. If you have the answer to a solution that we didn't even think about, we need it. We need it and we need to change it. And it needs to happen right now. The reason why I'm saying voting for me is better. We've seen what the results have been for the last decade. We've elected the same type of people, the same pedigree, the same background, and they've done nothing in 10 years. Change it. Change the environment, change the people, you'll change the results. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to change the results for your kids.
Just the sponsors.
Again, we thank you for your comment. We appreciate this opportunity. We want to thank again our sponsors, Brown Law Office, Stephanie Phillip, and U.S. Senate candidate, Ava Bravo, Las Vegas Justice of Peace Department 2 candidate, and Christian Bishop, Nevada State Senate District 5 candidate. And we thank each and every one of you for coming and showing up.